The Art of War was written by Sun Tzu about 2,500 years ago, and it's had a pretty big influence on me. It's one of my favourite books. But DayZ is the first game where I've been able to really experiment with the concepts in that book and apply them to a video game. In this video, I'm going to look at just a few quotes from the Art of War and how to interpret and apply them to DayZ. This will be the fourth video I've made with this character, and I typically make several videos per character, whereas many other people will die several times before they have enough footage to think that they've got something exciting enough to make one video. There's nothing wrong with that, I'm just pointing this out as a point of difference. What I show you is never a special incident, something unusual that happened, it's the norm. I often last a few months without dying, and I attribute a lot of that to the Art of War and the way it inspired me to play. So I'll start with giving you a couple of quotes and then I'll give you my interpretation. One who knows the enemy and knows himself will not be in danger in 100 battles. One who does not know the enemy but knows himself will sometimes win, sometimes lose. One who does not know the enemy and does not know himself will be in danger in every battle. Now, knowing yourself means having a complete understanding of your strengths and weaknesses, your risks and opportunities. And that's one thing, but knowing this information about your enemy is another thing. Obviously, you should try to know both before you even consider an attack. Notice that when he basically says that you've got it half figured out, that sometimes you'll win and sometimes you'll lose, I often refer to that as a coin flip scenario. Entering into a fight on a level playing field is just poor strategy. The thing is, almost all games are about ensuring there is a level playing field for both sides in the beginning of any match or game, but DayZ is a completely different animal, and that's why we can implement some of these concepts from the Art of War. Here's another quote which I think is important to complement the previous one. Those skilled in warfare made themselves invincible and then waited for the enemy to become vulnerable. So on DayZ, I try to make sure I put myself into a position where I'm unlikely to get killed, and then I start thinking about how I can attack the enemy. If I commit to an attack and then become vulnerable halfway through, I'll stop the attack, reset, and improve my position before attacking again. So that's kind of the foundation that you need to begin with. I've tried to think of a way to visualize this, and I came up with this chart. It might seem a bit of a mess at first, so I'll walk you through it piece by piece. So if you're highly vulnerable and the enemy is not, this is the worst time to attack. Do not attack. Yet I see a lot of people doing this all the time. The only way to be successful here is with luck. If you are both vulnerable, this is also a very bad time to attack, but the results will be 50-50. This is the coin flip. Whether you survive or not is very uncertain. If neither of you are vulnerable, it depends. If you can attack and in that way force them to expose a weakness, then maybe it's worth it, or will it have the opposite effect and put them in a better position and you in a weaker position? Maybe it's worth a try because there's no risk to you. It's possible to not win and not lose at the same time. But when they are vulnerable and you are not, this is the time to strike. That's all an oversimplification. There's a lot more grey area. The book goes into more detail, but this is my attempt to represent a few of what I think are the most important ideas as simply as possible. So with all that in mind, let's now look at some of the most recent encounters I had. And these are all about the grey area. There's no black and white here. Right now I'm near the Mishkino tents and up on the western hill. I'm staying away from the tree line below, as I think there's a chance that players could be down there looking into the tents and not facing up towards my position. And if I see someone down there, I'll be behind them and I have the high ground and a bit of range and a little chance of getting over the crest of the hill to my right if they try to close the distance on me. Any players in the tents also can't see me, and players on the opposite hill to the eastern side don't have a chance of touching me. The downside is that there's no reason that I won't encounter people up here, because other players are going to realise that it's safer to travel through this area than the tree line below. Whoa, hello. Oh, definitely friendly. Especially if you fucking surprise me like that.
Keep moving. What's that?
No worries. Fuck me. My mistake in the encounter that we just saw was that I was prepared for one situation but completely unprepared for another one. I didn't secure myself against defeat because I wasn't paying special attention to what was in front of me directly on the path right ahead. I was looking downhill and mostly ignoring everything in the immediate area, which is actually the far more immediate threat. And that meant I ended up with both me and the other player standing there face to face, and neither person had a strong advantage. If one of us chose to attack the other, we would both, for pretty much all intents and purposes, just have a 50-50 chance of winning that fight. We might even have a trade kill and we both die. I don't know if he has any friends. The only thing that we know in that moment is that we're both standing on either side of a tree. So the two options here are that we flip a coin and one of us dies kind of randomly, or we get a trade kill, but there's a third option, and that is that neither of us fight, which is terrible because we both have to depend on each other not to escalate. You never want to put yourself in a situation where you're depending on the choices of others, but we both got lucky here in that we decided not to escalate. About 10 minutes later, I came back to the same area, and I'm thinking that maybe this player will be focused on the tents now, hopefully he's settled down, because he's obviously geared up for sniping people. And I'm hoping to move over the crest and walk down behind and find him. But I'm very aware that it's a dangerous area in general, and as I'm moving in, I stop and just sit there to check my surroundings. That player might be following me or they might not. In any case, it doesn't appear that they know my exact position right now. I could run straight down there and possibly get an easy kill, but I could just as easily be seen and get killed myself. And as I go down, I don't really have a way to retreat. Many people would be tempted to attack at this point because they're only thinking about it one-dimensionally. The problem is that both victory and defeat are almost equally likely, or maybe it's 60-40 in for me because I can do a bit of an ambush. So I keep my position behind this rock and hope that he walks past, but he never actually walks past and I don't get the chance to do it. Being invincible depends on oneself, but the enemy's vulnerability depends on him. Those skilled in warfare can make themselves invincible, but cannot necessarily cause the enemy to be vulnerable. Therefore, it is said that one may know how to win, but cannot necessarily do it. So again, we're talking about those two aspects that you need to have locked down. Your own defense, security, vulnerability, and that of your opponent. So I've got, in my position right here, I'm relatively safe, I'm pretty safe, and I don't want to move from it, but I don't really have a way to force the other guy to be in a vulnerable position from here. And so I'm just sort of stuck. I wasn't feeling too great about this place anymore, so I decided to leave the area. I switched to a first-person server as there were about 15 people playing on it, which is pretty much enough for me. And I started heading north, and I'm about 1 kilometre west of the Northwest Airfield. But for the second time, I bump into someone accidentally. I hit record immediately after we saw each other. Hello, sir. How are you? Are you friendly?
No story. I can be friendly. Are you gonna be?
Of course.
I'm bored of you. That's cool.
We surprised each other.
Okay, I can't drop my gun, unfortunately.
I can't either.
Double carrying. Are you
We'll
double
just have-
carrying?
We'll just have to trust each other.
Yeah, I suppose. Which way?
You can just keep running if you want. No problem.
Are you heading? Yeah, no, I'll have a chat. Which way are you gonna head to the tent?
I'm heading north.
Are you going up to
I like the little dance we're doing around the tree. We're not putting our weapons away, but putting the tree in between us makes us feel a little bit more comfortable while we're talking. It's sort of a similar situation to before, but this time we're more happy to stay and have a chat. Again, I really don't want to escalate the situation, but our conversation is helping us build a bit of rapport and chill out. And before too long, we say goodbye, but After that, I want to keep moving north, but he runs in that same direction as well. I'd rather not run toward the airfield, but his position kind of pushes me in that direction, and I try to serpentine and put some objects in between us to cover his line of sight as I'm leaving. People often blame other players when they get killed on sight, but I blame myself for not being careful enough. So I don't want to give him any opportunity to take advantage of me. After heading up north and doing a bit of looting, I haven't seen a single player in a couple of hours. I'm now just looking for something to drink as my character is overheating pretty badly. But as I'm running back toward the south, I once again bump into another player at close range, which is pretty nuts. The difference this time is that they don't know I'm there. I raise my gun and hit record. If I were to say something instead and try to talk to him, I'd be in the same situation as those previous encounters where I'm just hoping that he sees the sense and not fighting. If I turn around and start running, he might notice that and decide to kill me. But since he doesn't know I'm there, in this moment I have control and an opportunity to line up a shot and make sure that he has zero choice in deciding my fate, so I decide his. And I had to do it quickly because I only had that advantage for a very short time. It could have changed at any second. But now, if you were thinking that I should start looting the body at this point, that's a really bad idea. There are just too many unknowns. I don't know the enemy. He might have friends around, so I'm going to back off for a while and wait to see if they appear. And if they do appear, I'll watch their behavior and look for vulnerability. I also want to get a better idea of the terrain and any position that I can get into to give myself the greatest advantage. So I get back a little bit, but I feel that I'm far too close still and I might be seen. I've got weapons with long range optics, so I need to make use of these tools. A total of 5 minutes after killing that player, I finally see his friend watching over the body. I could probably hit him with a standing shot here, but if it's not an instant kill, I'm going to lose control of him. And that's a possibility, but I also have the option to try to get a better position with higher ground and a clear shot. Once a few more minutes pass and I still haven't seen him, I feel that I've lost control of the situation. We're now both looking around for each other and either one of us could be the winner, so I'm going to retreat just to make sure that I survive. Even a lot of the more experienced players don't realise that the reason they die is usually because they attack when they should not. One takes on invincibility defending, one takes on vulnerability attacking. If you've ever watched some kind of martial arts competition where neither fighter is really trying to attack, it's because they're both looking for vulnerability but they can't find it, and they know that if they just attack at the wrong time, then they're rolling the dice and either one could go down. A lot of people don't like that, but that's true martial arts. That's the art of war. Most people are also impressed by DayZ videos where someone kills a squad of 6 on their own, for example. And usually they've got to attempt this many times before they pull it off once. But if I were to even fight a squad of 10, kill 9 of them, and the last one gets me, that's still the same result as far as I'm concerned. I'm still dead. I took on more than I could handle because I didn't judge the situation correctly. Perceiving victory when it is perceived by all is not the highest excellence. Winning battles such that the whole world cries excellent is not the highest excellence. In ancient times, those who are skilled in warfare gained victory where victory was easily gained. Therefore, the victories from those skilled in warfare are not considered of great wisdom or courage because their victories have no complications. If you think back to my video, The Ultimate Ambush, someone actually commented that we were noobs because we took on one person with a squad of 4. He felt that it would be more impressive the other way around. To Sun Tzu, that's just a bad decision. A victorious army first obtains conditions for victory, then seeks to do battle. A defeated army first seeks to do battle, then obtains the conditions for victory. In summary, you should set up the conditions of battle so that the fight itself is as easy as possible. Figure out how to win, then start fighting. Don't start fighting before you know how to win.